Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production YouTube, and welcome to the first collection update video for 2021. And this one again focuses more on the metal CDs that at least I have had purchased since at least December, or at least I've had in the inbox there for at least since December to at least January, but at least one of these at least was given to me all the way back in December. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Though the first two again comes from the box I received from the guy of Eternal Darkness Creations in the last collection update video that I had at least posted on the YouTube. I at least showed 4 or 5 of them. Time to get to at least the 2 of the other ones from there, again, which was released all on his sub-label, which was Obscurations in the Witch House. This first one, these guys were at one point were featured in one of the Metal Massacres, who had been, I think, either 8 or 9. The one that's got the Reaper guy and the hockey gimmick, that album cover. But this is, which I'm going to refrain from naming them because of you'll know the title, but it is this band right there. Again, more of a thrash metal band out of there. This one at least compiles their very first 2 demos, which at least the second demo has the song that was featured in one of the Metal Massacres, and of course 2 live shows. The first live show, which is more of a, I would not say it's the best audience recording. It's alright, but it's basically them playing like mostly covers, mostly Slayer covers actually. And the second disc, which has the second demo, is mostly all the original material, and that one's okay too in the audience, but it's not very listenable. Again, you only listen to these for at least once. It's mostly like almost archival if anything, but again, between the 2 demos, I would say the first demo might be the best sounding of them. Even that one's very rough sounding in some cases in terms of just the audio quality, and the cassette ripping. It's probably the best sounding. But the second demo does have the best recording in terms of at least the production-wise, but I think the source of it may have been from an MP3. So so really, it kind of just varies around. It's not bad though. I can listen to this, but I don't know how many times though I'll listen to some of that. At least the demo stuff is the most I'll listen to from this, but it's alright. Not the best though. But I don't want to talk too much. Who knows whether or not if this would be one of those bands that, let's say, a label like Stormspell would at least look into. Would doubt it, because the name, well, yeah. That's the only thing that might hinder the band from seeing any resurgence. So there you go. That's that one. Finally, this one is for one of my favorite German thrash metal bands. That is Sodom. This is the Sins of Sodom is the Sign of Evil, which actually compiles the very first 2 demos. At least the demo for the very first demo, there are only at least 2 songs from it. I know there was 4, but I think it must have been sourced from the reissue of M16. Still, we got the first 2 demos here with at least 2 live shows and 1 rehearsal track of Witch Hammer. God damn it. Witch Hammer, and then on the second disc, it's a cover of I'm a Rebel of Accept and The Kids Wanna Rock from Bryan Adams. On here, it's being listed as The Boys Wanna Rock, as like a Mama's Boy covers. No, that is misinformation. It's The Kids Wanna Rock from Bryan Adams, which was actually on the Saws the Law EP, is where it was originally from, which was recorded during the Better Off Dead sessions. Still, very cool. The demo is sounding, it's typical quality. It's what I would have expected. Very rough, very raw, almost very unlistenable at times. But again, that's probably the charm of them to begin with. But of the 2 live shows, I think the best of the live shows is on the first disc, which is the one that was recorded in Fulham Greyhound, London on 6/12/1988 on the Persecution Mania tour. This is the best sounding one. It's probably more of almost an A-grade soundboard recording. It sounds pretty freaking good, and it's actually the best thing about this disc right here. Again, just the best recording. It's actually the only live recording prior of them actually recording their cover of Tanks Don't Walk Away, which eventually would get re-recorded in the studio for their album Agent Orange. Again, Tank cover, but this is the first time I think it was played live prior to them recording it in the studio. So it's very cool. So it's very cool to have. So one of the best things here for at least when it comes to at least these releases. So there you go. There's the two there. Finally, let's get on to the ones at least I've had in my collection since December. First one, finally glad to have a copy of this one, but I got on CD here, but it's the debut from VoiVod. It's War and Payne. This is, of course, was the single disc reissue from at least released back in 2018 through Metal Blade. Again, Metal Blade originally had reissued this as a double deluxe edition back in 2006, which is my introduction to VoiVod in the first place. And that's how I knew about this sound, because my brother had a copy of it. The only thing about this disc that is very common with the deluxe copy from 2006, minus the fact there's no, again, it's a single disc, so it doesn't have any of the other. The only thing that is, besides the remastering, is the fact that it does contain the Metal Massacre sessions, which again, I probably would have been happy if they didn't have it on here, the Metal Massacre sessions, because of that. It's probably the only thing from here that I don't listen to. But the one thing that is different between this and the 2006 Deluxe Edition is that it actually does have the actual Metal Massacre version of Condemned to the Gallows, which is on the vinyl reissues of this. So that's actually one of the plus sides to having this, besides just the photo collages and so on. Again, it's just finally great to have this. Again, all I listen to is basically the first album, is all of this album to at least Condemned to the Gallows. That's the only stuff I'll listen to from this disc. But I'm still happy to finally have it. So there you go. That's the first one here, at least of the stuff I've bought since December. I received this all around Christmas time, or at least before New Year's. Alright, so this next band here, which again I purchased all along with the VoiVod. I've had this band on a compilation record called Rocket Cotton Steel, but I'm finally glad to have these two albums in my collection. That's the first two albums from 220 Volts. We have their self-titled 1983 album, and Power Games, which is where Firefall, which on the Rocket Cotton Steel comp came from, but that was like a special remix version. This is the original album version with the album itself on here. So finally glad to have these CD reissues, or at least these albums in my collection. Again, they were reissued on Music on CD from like 2017 to 2018. So very cool. This might be my favorite of the two, though. This might be, again, my favorite of the two albums, but this one's not too bad though. But it is going to take some time to really wrap my head around. When I first got this in the mail and was able to listen to it, because the first time I heard this was on the internet, and it was fine. It sounded fine, but though something didn't click with me, and it's probably the most Swedish metal sounding of at least these two albums. But again, it's the most that's going to take the most time for me to really wrap my head around. But again, when I first got it on CD here and listened to it since hearing it online, it did start to click with me a bit. It began to grow, but still, it's still going to take some time to grow into. But this album is already great. It's just too bad that after this one, and hopefully at one point someone does Mind Over Matter, hopefully someone does that third album, because after that, they just went downhill. So still, these first two 224 albums are the best from them, along with the third album, if someone does a reissue of that. Alright, next up, this album I've done a review on, and this was given to me from the band member for at least as a request to review it, and he had contacted me anyways, was on Christmas Day, but it's the comeback album from Cruella. It's Rampage. And again, a great album. Again, I've done a review on it. Again, it was sent to me from Roger DiCarlo of Cruella. I'm very thankful that he was able to send this out at me and out my way, and I was able to review it. So very glad. Just a good album. So that's there. Finally, what's playing in the background, and this is the most recent to at least be added into my CD collection, but that is the second full-length album from this obscure German metal band. It was reissued. Also, this is also a Stormspell release. This was Stormspell 2, but this came out last year, and I'm still a little miffed that I had to wait at least a year to finally get this, because again, Amazon, I don't know what's their deal with not holding a lot of stuff from Stormspell, but it's become ridiculous. But it's the second album from these guys. It's Metal Meat from Mad Butcher, which was originally released on the infamous Metal Enterprises label, which was known for having, again, it's a messy label. I even did a video of my own on this label once. But this is probably the most sought-after releases I've wanted in my collection for years. Again, how I found out about these guys was through Vibrations of Doom, and that's what led me on to the path of my journey into the realms of the obscure metal of the 1980s. And again, began with bands like with this album and even Edge of the World from Wolf. But finally glad to have a reissue of this one. All I've had for years was their debut album, which this is actually the first time I've actually owned anything from No Remorse Records. This was actually one of the earliest No Remorse reissues, released back in 2010. It is, again, their debut album of Metal Lightning Attack, which was also originally released on Earthshaker Records. But I've had this for years, and as far as having this, well, at least the album Metal Meat, all I've had for years, though, was a bootleg copy that was reissued on the Strike Force Records, which was, since yesterday, I had at least a revelation. For years, I thought Strike Force Records was a Greek bootleg label. Well, I found out it was actually a label, or at least some guy out of Las Vegas who just wanted to make money and just pressed all of this. He had two other labels, like, was it Time Warp and Hard Rock Diamonds? But this is all I had for years, and it just sounded like shit. This copy right here just sounded like shit. The old MP3 vinyl rip I've had for many years that has been surfaced around for many that has circulated the internet for years sounded way better than this fucking copy. So this was only used as a placeholder until somebody was able to reissue it. I had to wait many years for someone to reissue it, and it turned out it was Stormspell that was able to reissue this album. And how it came out was from a deal with Harry Elbrecht, who the main guy behind forming the band Mad Butcher, again formed all the way back in like 1980. These guys, again, one of the earliest German metal bands. It was the reason how the deal inked was because of he wanted to release the unreleased third album for adults only, and eventually I'll end up getting a copy of For Adults Only. But this is how this album got reissued, was because I have a deal to reissue that, and then eventually reissue their very first demo, which was used to secure them a record deal with Earthshaker Records for Metal Lightning Attack. But I'm just fine and glad to have this. Again, this is a professional sounding remastered by the guy Patrick A. Angle, who has done many a work for High Roller. He did this for Stormspell, and this is a good reissue. The only thing I can knock it down is I'm not a fan of at least of them reusing two songs from Metal Lightning Attack, because again, I already have these two songs anyways on this. So I don't know why they had to reuse it, probably to give the listener how his remastering sounds compared to the remaster for No Remorse Records in 2010. But eventually his actual remasters would get of the full album, besides just these two songs, would end up getting pressed on record through Dying Victims Productions, which that again came out last year. The Dying Victims Productions reissue of Metal Lightning Attack. And in an interview that Harry Elbrecht did for one of the, was it Hellfire Zine, I believe, did at least mention that Dying Victims Productions will also reissue Metal Meat for the first time on vinyl since 1987-88. So for those who's been looking out for a copy of this album on record, well, it will be eventually reissued on vinyl through Dying Victims. So look out for that within the year. But still, I'm glad to have this. Probably the best things about this reissue is the live tracks, which was recorded at the Scream Live Festival in 1986, which is a great live show. I wondered where, I was like curious where the source was taken from. It was actually from a radio broadcast, because it was all recorded. It was at least aired through a German radio station. And 1986. Again, it was the festival, besides Mad Butcher, had Halloween, Sinner, and Faithful Breath. So, and it was all pressed on record to give out to the radio stations in Germany to air on the broadcast. So that's why everything, the live track sounds so good. So it's just a nice fucking reissue. So finally glad to have this. So Metal Meat from Mad Butcher. So there we go. There is my all metal CD collection update from this for at least the new year. If you have any thoughts on any of these, leave them in the comment section below. Until then, if every threat to say I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.